trust yourself. Trust yourself about what direction you should go. Trust yourself about who you want to work with, who you do not want to work with. Trust yourself about what product to make, when to launch. Trust yourself to go all in on it. A key element in building a business you actually love, that fulfills you, that makes you feel great about what you're doing in the world, is to trust yourself. But how do you trust yourself? Through imposter syndrome, through self-doubt, through perfectionism, through failures and setbacks. That is what we're going to talk about today. Welcome to Explore Your Enthusiasm, episode 235 with me. I'm Tara Swiger. Trusting yourself and relying on your own intuition and common sense of what to do and what choices to make and where to go is vital in creating a business you actually enjoy being in. Not just following what other people tell you to do, but doing what you really want to be doing is just key. And in order to do what you want to do, you've got to trust that you're going to choose the right thing. So today we're going to talk about how to trust yourself. Before we dive in, that you should know that I actually wrote a whole book, or I have a whole book planned about this topic with an outline and sample chapters. So we can't cover everything in one episode. There is so much more to say about this and so much deeper we can go on every part of this. But my goal is to help you start to trust yourself a little today, and we can explore more in upcoming episodes. So if you trust yourself just even a little bit more today and this month, that will be a success. By the way, the book I mentioned, I'm thinking about actually writing it. I put it out for a bunch of, you might have heard in past episodes, it went out to a bunch of publishers. It was denied because they said it wasn't the right time for them to do it, or there were other books about it. But friends have been asking me to write it, and starship captains have been telling me I should write it. But I want to know if it's something you're interested in. That's why I decided to do this podcast episode, is like, I have all these thoughts about how you can learn to trust yourself, and it's so vital to what we talk about and what we do in our businesses. I should start sharing it with you. But I want to only make it and spend my time making a book if it's something you, the person I create for, really wants. So if you want a book about learning to trust yourself and you want to go way deeper, go tell me at taraswiger.com/new book. There's a sign up form there for you to just put in your email address. That will tell me that you're interested in the book. And when I start working on it, I'm going to start asking you for your feedback, you for your input. You're going to help me shape the book if you put your email address there. I'm not going to spam you about anything else. It'll just be about the book. Well, I'm never going to spam you about anything, no matter where you sign up. But that list is specifically just to talk about a book, learning to trust yourself. If nobody signs up, then I know there's no need to write a whole book about it. So it's taraswiger.com/new book. So let's get into this. Now first, before we go any further, you need to know what I mean by trusting yourself. So what I mean is relying on your own sense, your own intuition, your own desires, versus what other people tell you. Now, those other people might be your family, your friends, your culture, like what's acceptable or what's expected from you. They might be experts, teachers, podcasters, authors, or it might be the indirect messages you're picking up from other people. Like when you compare your business or your goals, your dreams, your daily life to other people's, and you see what they're doing, and so you think what you're doing is wrong or different, or you need to do what they do. So what I mean by trust yourself is simply this. Recognize that you have your own goals, your own dreams, your own life you have to live and responsibilities in that life, and that you have your own skills, abilities, strengths, personality. Then you take all of that and you make decisions that honor that honor who you are and the life you're actually in. So you make a decision that's a good fit for your life, your desires, where you want to go, and your strengths. In other words, instead of trying to do things the way you feel you should do them, or the ways that other people are doing them, you do things, everything from your daily business to your big goals, in a way that's based on who you really are. You are the standard, not other people. This is so, so key. And so much in our society and our culture tells you you're not the standard, or you're not who things were built for, or you're not who things were made for. And so you can't follow the rules other people are doing. Maybe those other people don't have kids. Maybe they're male. Maybe they have different life experiences. Maybe they grew up in a different way than you. Maybe they have different privileges that you didn't have, or maybe they don't have privileges that you do have. And so you need to find a way that works for you. That's what I mean by trusting yourself. And I can hear you say, Tara, I can't trust myself. Imposter syndrome, self-doubt, perfectionism, self-sabotage. I can't trust myself because I hold myself back. I can't trust myself because I doubt my intuition. I never really believe my gut is going to be right. Or I never think I'm good enough. So how could I trust myself? Or I keep messing it up. When I try to move forward, I make mistakes, I mess up, I've had failures. I know that you feel this way, and I know that's why you think you can't trust yourself. But all of these are actually reasons why you need to get better at trusting yourselves. You see, those self-doubting thoughts aren't the reason not to trust yourself. They're showing up because you don't trust yourself. They're showing up because you've made decisions based on what other people have told you should do instead of what the direction you want to go or the things you want to pursue. So let's talk about why you don't trust yourself. If trusting yourself is amazing, is going to help you go where you want to go, why don't we all do it? Well, the main thing is you haven't been taught to trust yourself. You haven't been told you're allowed to, and you haven't been taught how to do it. In fact, you've been fed a steady diet of you're not good enough your whole life. Even if your parents were the best, most encouraging, most loving parents of all time, you still got your message that you need to be better from teachers, from a zillion magazine articles from how to be thinner or how to please your man or how to make more money or be more successful, from how to be hotter or smaller or smarter or less hairy or whatever. Or you read books or you listen to podcasts that tell you need better habits, better morning routines, better consistency in your social media. And you see, a lot of these messages aren't wrong. Now, the ones that tell you your body's not right or you need to be different or more pleasing are wrong. But those ones that we want to be better or different for self-improvement reasons, for growth reasons, they're not necessarily wrong. If you're a kid and you can't do addition, then you do need to get better at doing basic addition before your teacher gives you an A. If you can't read, you need to get better at reading so that a whole world opens up to you. If you aren't consistent on social media, and that's where you're going to build your business, you need to get better. But here's a really important distinction. You can need to do something better, more consistently, more successfully, but that doesn't mean that you need to be a better person. That just means your actions can change. You can learn, you can grow, but you are still a worthy, trustworthy individual. So I want you to think about how you would explain this to a kid. Yes, child, you need to get better at math, but that doesn't mean you're not a good enough kid right now. You have all the internal worthiness you need in order to get better at math. You just need to work on your math skills. Now, if you're listening to this and you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, you probably realize that this is about growth mindset. You can listen to my episode 49, to learn more about mindset and what exactly I mean by growth mindset. But the short version of this is a fixed mindset says that you are what you are and you can only do what you're already good at. And many, many people live their life with a fixed mindset that they just are who they are and that's as good as they're going to be. And that means if you can't do something, you suck. You just don't have the skill to do it. Growth mindset says that you can learn anything, you can grow, you can change, you can be a different person, you can acquire skills and abilities and all kinds of things. So if you can't do something, you just need to learn it. Like instead of saying, I suck, you say, I just don't know how to do that yet. You're still worthy and good and capable. Now, there's a whole book about this research and how switching from a fixed to a growth mindset can allow you to grow in all kinds of ways and have more success in sports and business and schoolwork. So it's super important. The book is called Mindset by Carol Dweck, and I go into it more in episode 49, but I totally recommend you pick up the book as well. So you can see that if your whole life you've been taking in all the messages that tell you how to improve, but you've looked at them from a fixed mindset, then you're right. How the heck can you trust yourself? You suck. You're not good enough. You have no idea what you're doing and you need to be told how to get better. But if you are looking at all those messages from the idea that you can grow and change. Oh, I could become more consistent, and if I set up the systems I need to become more consistent on social media, I could get better at math if I study math and I do more of it. Then if you're looking at it from a growth mindset, then it's okay to both be imperfect and to trust yourself. You don't suck. You just need to learn some more stuff. And so you, as you are fine. You're trustworthy. Now, if you hear that and you're like, okay, fine, yeah, I have a growth mindset, I can trust myself, but should I? Is that going to be best for my business? Going to be best for my life? It seems like I should listen to the experts. So first, we got to acknowledge that trusting yourself is not the sure path to an easy, failure-free success. That's right. I'm not telling you that by learning to trust yourself or trusting yourself, you're going to just skip over everything hard and all the failures. There is no way to get to success without some failures and setbacks. Whether you're trusting in yourself or you're listening to other people, things are going to go wrong. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up. You might not even make a mistake and something just might go wrong. There is no easy, sure path to reaching your dreams without some setbacks. Not trusting yourself, not following someone else's rules, neither of those will lead you without any failures. Now, I really need you to absorb that. You really need to accept that you will have setbacks, you will have failures, you will have bad days, you will lose your temper or make a mistake or order the wrong thing, no matter which path you choose. No matter. You got to accept that first, because I think so much of our time is spent looking for the path that will get us where we want to go with no problems, that we don't fully accept that failures and setbacks are just part of the process. So much of our what choice is best, like going back and forth about any choices we're making, comes down to us trying to avoid a failure. And of course, because failure totally sucks. But my business mentor, Liz, told me last year, in response to me trying to figure out how to do something exactly right and perfect, and trying to get from her how to do something exactly right and perfect, she said, I'm not going to give you the answer because I think you just need to become much more comfortable with rejection and failure. I was like, whoa, A, you're right. B, I don't want to become comfortable with rejection and failure. That sounds horrible. So I talk more about learning to get more rejection and become comfortable with it in episode 171, if you want to learn more about that. But that's the thing. In order to have success, you have to accept that you're going to make mistakes, that some things won't go well, that things will just go wrong no matter how perfectly you did it. You also just might be wrong. That's a fear a lot of us have. When I asked on Instagram why people were afraid to trust themselves, they're like, well, what if I'm wrong? Well, you might be wrong, but here's the thing. Other people might be wrong too, especially when it comes to you and how you work well. They don't know. So they're more likely to be wrong. So if you're going to experience setbacks either way, you may as well trust yourself, because you are going to be more aligned and more centered and more coming from your strengths while you do the things that you're doing if you're trusting yourself and you're not looking outside of yourself. You're going to have more power when you trust yourself than when you give your power to people outside of you, like teachers or authors or your parents. You see, if you follow someone else's path, or you try to make other people happy, or you try to push yourself to fit in someone else's box, you're going to be miserable as you move towards your goal, because it's not just about hitting your goal. It's also you're living your life while you're on your way to your goal. It's going to be that much harder if you're not honoring who you are and coming from where you really are, who you really are, exactly as you are. So if you give yourself some grace, if you find a way to do it that works for you, if you go after your own goals and not someone else's, and you do it in a way that focuses on your strengths and comes from your strengths and your personalities and your motivations and the way you handle setbacks, if you honor all that along the way, you're going to enjoy the process more. It's going to be more just easy because it's who you are. And it's all a process. That's the thing, is never when you hit your goal do you feel like you're done. You're just on the process to your next goal. You're on the path to your next goal. The real benefit of this, though, is that you're going to keep going longer. So studies have shown that when you have a job or you work in a way that features your strengths and just kind of sets aside your weaknesses, doesn't focus on your weakness, you can do it longer. You're less likely to burn out and you'll stay at the job longer. So when you try to make your business or your life fit someone else's ideal, you get burnt out and you quit sooner. And if you're going to go about it in a way that fits you, that focuses on your strength, that gives you enthusiasm and energy, you're going to keep going with it. And the key to long-term success is to keep going. So that's the difference between capital F failure, to end all failures, to quit, like that ends everything, and just some small failures on your way to your success. It's not the actual failure. The difference is, do you keep going afterwards? And if you're exhausted trying to fit into what somebody else told you to do, you're not going to be able to keep going for as long. So you might remember my dad's advice when I told him I quit my day job, which is, you haven't failed until you've quit. So you haven't failed until you've quit. All of the setbacks, all the things that might go wrong, if you haven't quit, it's not failure yet. So keep going. If you can find a way to do it that feels good, you're going to keep going past what feels like failures, and you're going to find your way to your goals. The number one difference between the businesses that I've worked with and talked to that quit before they reach their goals and the ones that reach their goals, as the people who reached their goals just kept working till they got there. They didn't have less failure. They didn't have less setback. They didn't have less hard times or hard days. They kept going, and they found it easier to keep going because their business fit them, because their day-to-day tasks were things they felt good about, because their goals were things they really wanted and not what other people wanted for them. So now that you know you can trust yourself despite self-doubt, despite setbacks and failures, how do you actually do it? Well, like I mentioned, this is a much, much deeper topic. So if you want to learn more, go sign up at taraswiger.com/new book. You can also find the links to everything that I've mentioned, all those past podcast episodes and the new book at taraswiger.com/podcast 235. But let's hit on some of the beginning steps so you can start this right now. The first thing I want you to do is think about if you have a fixed or a growth mindset and start moving over to the growth mindset in every area of your life. Okay, think about what I said about following someone else's path versus following your own, leading to less burnout. Or I guess following someone else's path leads to more burnout and you don't go as far. You got to really accept that. You also have to accept that failure and rejection is going to be part of it. Period. Okay, then here are some of the steps to tapping in to learn how to trust yourself. So you can start exploring them a little bit, but we could go way, way deeper into all of this. The first thing is to get clear on what you want. You want to be sure you're working towards a goal that matters to you, and it's not just the goals you think you should want. And this is complex because we are also inundated with people's beautiful lives and beautiful projects and beautiful businesses on Instagram and Facebook that it's easy to think when you see it on Instagram and you're like, that's gorgeous. It's easy to think I want that. When maybe you do want it. Maybe you just think it's great for them. That difference can be really hard. And so I think that's part of the reason we have a hard time picking our own goals that are goals we really want. Also, sometimes we don't know what a goal involves until we start working on it. So it's okay to change your mind about your goals as you go. So I hope you do all of this in my book, Map Your Business. We look at the really big picture and then we work with it down into a doable goal. So we start by the really big picture of where you want to go and what that looks like for you in your life. And then we keep boiling it down until you have steps to take each day to move towards your goal. And if you're not clear about where you're going, it's going to feel impossible to trust yourself. You gotta trust yourself to both pick that big goal and then trust yourself to work towards it. But if you don't have a vision for where you're going, it's just gonna feel very flippity floppity. So you can find Map Your Business on Amazon. It's hot pink. I've got a stack behind me here if you're watching the video. And that will really walk you through helping you pick a vision and then a doable goal for the next quarter and then the steps to move towards that goal. And it reflects my belief that you've got to go about those goals in a way of trusting yourself. Now, the second step is to explore and accept who you really are. As opposed to trying to make yourself be something else, work towards your goal in a way that reflects and honors and celebrates who you really are. So a lot of the feedback I get about trusting yourself is really about, I want to be different. I want to be better. But honey, I'm going to be honest with you. You have to accept and embrace who you are. You have to find value and worth in that so that you see how trustworthy you are. You're not going to be able to enjoy your goals and your business and your life if you're wishing that you were different or that you could do things in the way other people do things. What comes easy to other people would just come easy to you. You have your own strengths and abilities that come easily to you. So you can start doing this by exploring your personality and your strengths. This includes all kinds of things. So it includes how you respond to expectations, which I cover in episode 61, where we talk about the book, The Four Tendencies. I link to a quiz so you can figure out how do you react to expectations. Really shapes how you're going to do, like with a to-do list, or if you need an accountability partner or you need a community. All of those are tools that you'll use. And by recognizing how you work best, you're going to be able to work the best way, set up your environment in the best way for you. Also, how your knowing yourself also relates to what motivates you. For that, you can check out the Enneagram. It talks about core motivations. Jolie and I actually did an episode that's going to come out soon on our podcast, Take Care of Yourself podcast. I'll link it up, about the Enneagram. Also, you can just Google and find books on it. I might do an upcoming episode on it if you guys want to learn more. Also, know yourself by knowing what your strengths are. So I really like the Strengths Finder test and system, which I've linked up in this week's show notes at taraswiger.com/podcast235. That test and system for the Strengths Finder will help you identify what your strengths are and then kind of think about how can you build your business to highlight those strengths. Because when you're highlighting your strengths and not your weaknesses, it's going to be just much easier for you to do the work. It's going to be highlighting what comes naturally to you, and you're going to be able to move faster. So I've taught a lot about the four tendencies, but not as much about the other systems I use. So you just let me know. Instagram's probably the best way. I'm at Tara Swiger. If you want me to do podcast episodes on strengths, podcast episodes on the Enneagram. We've done episodes on both on Take Care of Yourself podcast. So pop over to the show notes and click through to listen to those. Those are just it's like a conversational podcast between me and Jolie talking about books we've read and how we like our businesses and our lives. But if you want me to teach on it, let me know and I'll teach on it. Now, the third step. So you've gotten clear on where you want to go. You've started to explore your personality. You're never going to be done with that. That's going to be an ongoing project forever. But next, you want to look at all the ways you are trustworthy. And by the way, you should be doing this at the same time you're doing the other things, because it's going to help build your trust. So trusting yourself and listening to yourself is a skill. It's a muscle that will get better. You'll get better at it the longer you do it. So you'll build that skill in part by proving to yourself that you're trustworthy. You can do this by celebrating your successes. Make a list of what you've already accomplished in your whole life. Have you ever made a sale? Have you set up your shop? Have you made one single product? Have you kept a baby alive? Have you graduated? Make up a big list. And then even focus on the smaller stuff each week that you get done. That's awesome. The more you highlight what you have done, the easier it's going to be for you to trust yourself going forward, because you're going to be like, oh, I've accomplished things. I can move forward. I talk about this a lot in my episodes on confidence. I'll link up some of them in the show notes. I've done a lot of episodes on building your confidence, and one of the key parts is celebrating your successes. Now, another point, my fourth point about learning how to trust yourself is to keep showing yourself trustworthy by showing up for yourself and your goals every single day. The more you show up for yourself and you do the thing you say you're going to do, the more you'll build a trust that you can keep doing the things you say you're going to do. This is really, really key to continuing moving in your business, is to keep showing yourself trustworthy. Now, the fifth step is to tap into your inner voice. I don't know. You can call this whatever you want to call this. You can call this your inner voice. You can call this your intuition. You can call this your angel guide. You can call this like the voice of God, whatever it is for you that leads you in your life. I just generally call it the inner voice. It could be the Holy Spirit. It could be me, whatever. I do this tapping into that voice, like it says like, do this or focus on this, or this is a good idea. This is also where your creativity comes from. And again, you can call this whatever you want. Like different people will believe it comes from different places, but you know what I'm talking about. I've never met anybody who didn't have a sense of what they should do. Now it might be very weak. They might not trust it a lot, but there's some sense. This might just be your common sense. So I tap into this through journaling, and you can do it by asking yourself questions, by just free writing. You can do it by paying attention to your feelings. Like when you think about saying yes to this gig or saying no to it, how do you feel about the gig? Like your feelings both physically in your body. Does your stomach clench? Do you get sweaty? Is it excitement? Is it fear? And then like your emotions around it. Do you feel anxious or do you feel excited? Do you feel bored by it or do you feel enthusiastic about it? You can also do it through prayer or through yoga or through any number of ways, through quiet meditation. There are so many different ways you can just basically the idea is to get quiet so that you can hear it. Okay? So by that I mean, instead of just like running around in your day and doing all of the things that everybody else is telling you to do, spend some time getting quiet, whether that's journaling, meditating, praying, yoga, just tapping into how you feel physically. All of those things are going to help you hear that internal guidance system easier and easier. So start to pay attention to what you feel about the different situations in your life, and then listen to that. When I say listen, it might not be like vocabulary words. There might not be words associated with it. It might just be like a gut feeling or a sense or a Pay attention to what that is for you. Everybody's slightly different. You can start small, like what do I want to eat for lunch? You can start really big, like should I launch this whole new project, or what should my goal be in 2019? Or should I have kids or not? Like, that's really big. But make a note when you're listening to yourself, and then be sure you note what the outcome was. So one of my favorite ways to build up this internal guidance system is, I think it's what Martha Beck calls it, is your internal GPS, is to make a note at like what situation you're thinking about, kind of what you felt or heard or whatever guided you, and then what you did, and then what the outcome was. So you got to make the note before you make the decision, and then what the outcome was after. And what you see over time is that A, you can trust yourself. B, like sometimes amazing, amazing things happen when you trust that inner GPS, things that wouldn't have happened if you would have just followed the directions in a book. So I have so many examples of how you can start small and ways to tap into this inner GPS in a way to help you make good business and life decisions. This is one of the keys to my business that I haven't talked about because I haven't quite known how to like start talking about it. But let me know if you want to learn more about it. You can sign up to hear more about the book, or you can just shoot me a message on Instagram. I'm at Swiger. So it's my hope that you realize that you can take your strengths, your experiences, your personality, your knowledge, your curiosity, your enthusiasm, and use them all to pursue your biggest dreams and create the business and the life that you really like are going to enjoy doing in the process. You can take all of those and you can make it happen. So I help people work through this, and I am diving more into this in some Starship-only resources in 2019. So if you'd like to learn more about how to set goals, follow through, improve your marketing, and do it all while trusting yourself, check out the Starship. Go to taraswiger.com/starshipbiz. If it's not open now, you can drop in your email address and you'll be told when it's open. It's going to be opening the last week of December. So I think you're listening to this before the last week of December. Go sign up. You'll find out. We're going to be going into this inner GPS stuff even more. We're going to talk more about trusting yourself and building your confidence. Also going into like acknowledging and accepting who you really are, your motivations, and your personality. So that will all be inside the Starship. You can also check out all of the resource in the show notes, including if you're interested in that book. taraswiger.com/podcast235 is where you'll find links to literally all of this. Many more podcast episodes for you to listen to, books I suggest, all kinds of things. So this is a topic I've been exploring in my monthly Q&As with the Starship captains for a while, and I'd love to know if it's something you want to hear more about. So let me know on Instagram, use the hashtag Explore Your Enthusiasm, tag me, I'm Tara Swiger. Do that on your Instagram stories or on your Instagram posts. I love seeing what you guys are doing when you're listening, so share that with me, please. Just tag me at Tara Swiger. And thank you so, so much for listening. I hope that this helps you learn to trust yourself a little more, make more decisions from your own sense and who you really are. Thank you so much for listening, and have an enthusiastic day.